I wasn't expecting Astral Ascent to hook me like it did, but Hibernian Workshop has combined nearly all of the most entertaining aspects of games like Hades, Ori and the Blind Forest, and Dead Cells in such a way that it has done something unthinkable in 2023. It's got me interested in roguelikes again. It's not a perfect game, but with an undeniably addictive gameplay loop, great characters, and the addition of local two-player co-op, it's impossible to call Astral Ascent anything less than a great time. Astral Ascent begins with story beats that echo Hades. The player is tasked with making their way through multiple types of worlds guarded by godlike guardians while trying to find a way to escape the astral prison they are stuck in. Unlike Hades, however, isometric camera angles and members of the Greek pantheon are nowhere to be found. Instead, it's the Zodiacs, like Capricorn, Taurus, etc., who serve as Astral Ascent's bosses. But rest assured, they're every bit as fleshed out and difficult to defeat as their Greco-supergiant peers. After the game's brief intro, players have the option to choose from 2 different characters, with an additional 2 available to unlock later on. Each character has their own fighting style and special ability, but I settled on Kieran, who is an orphan who genuinely loves training to fight more than most people love their own children, and looks remarkably similar to the prince in the original Prince of Persia. For the majority of my playthrough, just because I found his interactions with the game's bosses and NPCs to be endearing and entertaining to watch. Not only are Astral Ascent's NPCs fun to talk to, but they are also incredibly well designed. The game is stuffed with high-resolution pixel art, and while the most in-depth details are reserved for cinematic boss fight introduction scenes, even the more simplified versions look and move fluidly. This extends to enemy combat designs and animations, which excel at telegraphing upcoming attacks without losing their own sense of style and clarity. If Astral Ascent has one major flaw, it's that the game contains a lot of different abilities players will upgrade throughout the course of any given run, so much so that it's quite confusing at first. Not only are there up to 4 equipable powers, which can be swapped out when a new one is found similar to Dead Cells, but each of these powers also has up to 4 slots for modifiers. Then there is the player's signature move, which is upgraded when moving between different world zones, and there are also aura powers, which modify regular combat, special attacks, or movement, and can be upgraded as well. This is a lot to get used to, and the control scheme for navigating menus and upgrading abilities isn't quite as intuitive as I'd like it to be. However, it also doesn't take long to get used to the buttons Astral Ascent is asking you to press, although speaking to NPCs using the left bumper will never not feel strange to me. And the multiple traversal options at hand make running through the game's levels a real platforming treat. Once the abilities begin to stack and a simple normal punch sends out both ice shards and missiles against your opponents, and a special attack causes everyone on the screen to suffer from chain reaction electric blasts, it all starts to fall into place. My biggest problem with Dead Cells and its DLC was that sometimes the maps could feel too large. The entrances and exits are sometimes very close together and sometimes spread far too wide. Procedural generation is tricky for any developer, but Hibernian Workshop's decision to keep levels contained to smaller, arena-like chunks both helps to incentivize players to keep pushing forward and removes the confusion that comes from aping the Metroidvania genre. Astral Ascent isn't a Metroidvania. Although the traversal and combat are highly reminiscent of them, and procedural generation is used heavily, every level provides a logical path forward. There are 2 main level types in Astral Ascent. Combat levels will close the player off from progressing until they defeat all the enemies provided, and exploration levels are the more Mario-esque platforming zones. In these, players only need to reach the end of the level to proceed, and can leave enemies behind if they're beginning to feel overwhelmed. Scattered throughout these levels are multiple collectibles to find on each run. There are pink crystals, which can be used to purchase more powerful special attacks, and special attack modifiers at the shop, keys which allow you to choose between upgrading your character or upgrading your powers, stars which can be traded for healing items or stat upgrades, and tickets which can be traded back in at the Garden, which is Astral Ascent's hub world, for new outfit colors. Additionally, players earn currency for the amount of progress they make each run, and this currency can be turned into various NPCs back at the Garden for even more upgrades. At the time of this review, I have yet to actually beat Astral Ascent in full, so I can't speak to the game's ending. If it's anything like most roguelites I've played over the years, though, it's not getting the ending that matters, it's about how enjoyable the trip there is. As someone who has put hundreds of hours in Dead Cells, Hades, Bloodstained Ritual of the Night, Slay the Spire, and countless others, I really thought I was kind of done with the whole genre. Astral Ascent, though, is the first game since Starfield was released earlier this year that has hooked me. It's always hard to put into words what that one more run feeling is that the best roguelikes inspire, but Astral Ascent undeniably nails it. And I don't even like astrology. Astral Ascent is available now on PC, Nintendo Switch, PS4, and PS5. Screen Rant was provided with a Steam code for the purposes of this review.